This week on A to Z Running, if I see one more time a headline about how everyone sets New Year's goals and quits by February, I'm going to quit the internet.
Okay.
And yet, I was chatting with another runner recently, a wise and accomplished man, and he casually mentioned a habit of his that rocked my thinking. Best part, this week, we're bringing that idea to you, the Unbreakable rule.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to AtoZrunning. I'm Andy.
And I'm Zach. Grant Fisher, the Grant Fisher, just mentioned when he's planning to run a marathon.
What?
Yes, indeed. You'll have to stick around to hear all about it because we're not going to talk about it right now. So we ended 2025, as many, at least in our area, do, with a run, with a race in 19 degrees, and it was snowing during the run. It was actually snowing substantially, like accumulating snow while the race was happening, so that over the course of the run, it got worse and worse footing. It was quite incredible. But I also thought it was a blast.
It was a blast. We had a good time. Thank you so much for the team for putting that together. It was a really good experience for us and the boys. Even though they were resistant, at the end, they were very proud of themselves. And it was magical how much snow there was. It was falling the entire time. It was the epitome of Michigan winter.
Yeah. And our sons just ran the furthest run either of them have ever done in doing so. And then when we asked the younger of the two what his next year's goals are going to be, 2026, do you remember what he said?
10K.
10K. All right. They just ran a 4-mile race, I should have specified. So the 10K is, in fact,
Achievable.
If he does it, both achievable and the longest he will have ever run. But we told him he has to train for it. So here we go. All right. It's exciting. These are good things. And we've got a lot more good things to share. But before we do, I wanted to get your perspective, Andy. You are doubling down on some good, strong training routines right now. What are you working on? Tell us about it.
I am working on being able to run consistently, which is requiring some strength and mobility, which is always a good thing to do, but double down on that. Double downing, is that a verb?
I would say doubling down.
Doubling down on it it's been a good thing for me, and I look forward to continuing to do that. It's kind of a non-negotiable. So
you got to get stronger. And when things are difficult, you got to get even stronger.
Yeah.
There's a lot to be said about that. We're going to talk about some of the routines that are necessary to do so. We won't do so this week, but next time you hear from us, perhaps. And give you some good ideas for how you can make the most of your current winter training if you're in the Northern Hemisphere and it's winter for you right now. And for those who aren't, it's still good stuff.
Quick nugget, because it came up in a conversation recently. I loved this advice, and she's not the first one to have said it, but Colleen Quigley, when she was on her podcast, said one of the things to get herself to do the cross training she didn't want to do was to have a specific show she could only watch while she was doing the thing that she didn't want to do. And I have really found that to be a beneficial trick tool. So I had mentioned it to a friend of mine who wanted to get back into some of the cross training as well, and she's going to be utilizing that method. So I just thought I'd put that little nugget out there. If you're needing something to motivate you, have a show that you can only watch when you're doing the thing you don't want to do.
Indeed. That's actually great advice. It's exceptional advice because it is just one more way to reduce those barriers to making a habit of the thing that isn't always as glamorous as perhaps other activities might be. Although no one really should ever call the idea of running glamorous, but it has its perks. And we should say we're in the trenches with you, those who are doing just that. It was just yesterday, actually, as I am speaking these words, that I was on the treadmill, and one of our sons was on the exercise bike, and the other one was on the Zero Runner, which is a kind of elliptical, and a more anatomically and functionally correct kind of elliptical. And so all three of us were on exercise machines in the basement, and we had Premier League soccer on the TV, and it was very interesting to all of us. And so that was a way to help kind of hack the thing. Let's just all do this together. Now, our sons don't go down in the basement and cross train every day.
This was not normal.
This was just a spur of the moment. They both
wanted
just happened
to be around
to jump on the machines. Yeah. So anyway, that was fun though. Well, we've got a lot of these kinds of ideas to bring to you, ways to help ensure success in your current endeavors. And this week's focus topic is high on the list. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to tell you about the Unbreakable rule. Let's talk about what it takes to get over the hump with some of our obstacles as runners, but also just as people trying to make a habit out of things that are sometimes difficult for us. And so we're not going to talk about New Year's resolutions because everybody else is doing that. But what it comes down to is behavior change is hard, and it doesn't really matter when. It's always going to be difficult, and we could tell you all the stats. You're familiar with all the stats. We'll come back to some of that when we talk about the challenge itself. But this past Christmas holiday, we were spending time with family and friends, and happened to be talking with a runner who is also a family member. And
shout out to George Goad.
Oh, I was going to say, don't tell his name because I wanted to see if he listens to this ever and finds out that I had talked about it. Well, anyway, Andy gave away the game.
I think he deserves some credit.
No way. Not unless he listens to it. All right. So here's what he was talking about. He was talking about this thing that he does that helps make sure that he goes through the kinds of things that he needs to do to be successful with something. And he gave me kind of a number of examples. So I guess now that we've given away who it is, I'll give you his examples too in just a moment. But it's a principle that as I was talking with him, so simple and so obvious, but so valuable and so applicable to running specifically that we couldn't help but share it. And the timing matters because this is definitely a time when you're thinking about these kinds of things. So we're going to bring that to you here. Let's set the stage.
And by setting the stage, now that I have revealed who he is, George is a professional performer. He plays the trumpet in the St. Louis Symphony. And so I think that understanding who he is as a high achieving person can also help you understand some of these thoughts. He's also a really good athlete. He's a triathlete, but also he was a fabulous runner and through high school and is a fabulous runner now. He just
won a trail race and finished second in another one. And trail races are his current interest, in fact. Mm-hmm. Yes, all around accomplished human, and one of those kinds of people who tends to do the thing he sets his mind toward doing, even when it's a long-term grind. And that's very difficult. That's very difficult for lots of people. In fact, you're familiar with the statistics. And we're not going to, I told you, we're not going to go into detail about this. This is not the point of the topic, but we need to remember the premise here. Scrape the internet for what research says about how many people actually achieve the goals they set out to do. And the answer is under 10%, guaranteed. You're going to find numbers under 10% everywhere you look. And some sources will claim things like 5% even. And so that means that 1 in 10 of us is actually doing the thing that we say we want to do in terms of goals. And that particularly applies to behavior change. So a goal could be like, I want to run this time in a race this year. And that's great. But we're talking about more like things like, I want to run every day this year. Or, well, that's probably a bad example because you shouldn't necessarily run every day if there's reasons that you shouldn't. But, I want to create a regular habit of doing core exercise each week, for example. So anyway, the sources all tell us it's under 10%. Psychology Today says it's about 92% of people who don't achieve their New Year's resolutions, and in fact will quit them by mid-January. So those are all the things we know, and we don't want to dwell on the negative of that kind of stuff because all of us right now are thinking, I'm going to try to do this thing, and it does not help to have everyone on the internet tell you that you're going to fail. That doesn't help. So instead, this helps. This is George's idea. And so we got to think about George for a second. Since we've given away the game, we might as well. George practices trumpet 2 to 3 hours a day, pretty much every day. He runs and cycles and swims because he's a triathlete, although he goes through seasons. And so there's certain stretches of time when he's focused on triathlons and he does all of the activities, and there's other stretches of time where he's not doing triathlons at all, and he just does either cycling or running or a little bit of both or just running, things like that. So what George told me is he said he has to, so like practicing trumpet for 2 or 3 hours every day is rarely ever exciting. It's not the kind of thing that a professional musician, who's tenured, by the way, so it's not like he has to do certain things to keep his job as the second trumpet for the, or is he?
No, I don't know.
Anyway, we don't know his exact position in the St. Louis Symphony, but the point is he doesn't necessarily have to do certain things to keep the job. He's a tenured musician, but yet he still does. He still maintains the rigorous work. And so how does he go about that? Well, you're familiar with goal setting kinds of strategies, things like SMART goals, things like the goal setting theory, so SMART goals, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, time bound, all of that. SMART or goal setting theory is very similar: clarity, challenge, commitment, feedback, complexity. They're all kind of part of the same mindsets. The 4DX work from Franklin Covey and their organization, it's the wildly important goal, lead measures, lag measures, scoreboard, all of that. And then we've talked about WHOOP here, which is a way to achieve these things, not a goal setting approach, but a way to make the thing possible that I'm trying to achieve. Wish, outcome, obstacle, plan.
That's what the acronym means.
Yep.
I didn't really get that the first time you talked about it. So wish, outcome, obstacle, plan, WHOOP. Okay.
WHOOP. Yeah. So all of those are frameworks for achieving our goals. And they're all very complicated, and they all require you to do certain steps in certain orders and all that kind of stuff. And most of us look at that and think that is exhausting. That doesn't make me achieve my goals. It makes me not want to ever have a goal again for the rest of my life. That's your pessimistic Zach talking again. So what I found amazing was when George told me, like, here's what I do to achieve the stuff that I want to try to achieve. It was so simple that all that kind of stuff, I was like, wow, we don't need all those things. Well, those things are good and helpful. We'll make the integration here shortly. But he told me, he's like, I just have a rule, and that's it. And I said, okay, please explain. And so here's the explanation. The unbreakable rule, right? So you have a rule, and here's what you do. I had to say that more than once because it's just a weird thing. Okay. You create a rule for yourself, like a specific rule about the thing you want to do, and then you follow it.
Okay.
That's it.
That's awesome.
Isn't that great?
All
It's
right.
so simple.
Give us an example,
Okay.
please.
All right. So here's what George was saying. So his example was, okay, I got to practice trumpet, right? And I don't love some of the just like daily grind every single day. And so what he says is, he's like, I don't let myself, like, I have to do the practicing trumpet before I can do certain other things in the day. So I might not practice trumpet right first thing in the morning, and I might not practice it in the middle of the day, but I have to practice trumpet before I can do certain other things. That's my rule. And it's very simple. And so that just means that I get to practicing trumpet more quickly. Like, I make sure that happens more readily because there's other things I want to do, but I'm not allowed to until I practice. And I'm like, okay, so that now you could say, well, I could just not do it. Right. But the point here is you do want the thing. You do want it. It's just you always allow yourself compromises that reduce the chance of getting the thing. So when George says, I just make a rule for something and then I follow that rule, I thought, wow, that is so simple. But what does it actually look like in all of these things? Because I can make a rule like you have to run, but that actually is not going to be very helpful. That's not any more helpful than just having the goal of training. My rule is I have to do strength work. No, not helpful. So what George said to me that I thought was really powerful is he didn't just say, like, I have a rule about practicing trumpet. It was, before I can do this thing, I have to practice trumpet for this amount of time this week. And then the next week he changed the thing that he got as a result of practice. So like it wasn't always the same thing all the time. And he said that this is something he just does in general with anything. It's like, okay, what do I have to do this week? I have to do all of these things. I got to do laundry. So my rule is going to be, I can't do this until I do the laundry. Or when I do the laundry, I will get this reward. All that kind of stuff, right? And he just does it as a habit of mind. And that is where the power lies here. So it's not some big grandiose, like, what are my resolutions? And I'm going to make a rule about each one of them. It's just thinking about what you want to try to do today or this week. And instead of saying, okay, I'm going to do it and I'm going to do it at 7 o'clock, I say, before I can look at my phone, I have to do my core workout. Period. And I tell myself that. That's the rule. If I say that to myself, I am far more likely to do that core workout. It's just a simple kind of mindset hack. Isn't it so good?
It is. Yeah. I think it's related to what I mentioned earlier with Colleen Quigley. Like, you can't watch the show unless you're on the bike or whatever it is that you're.
That's why the connection was so good when you said that.
Right. Yeah, I think that's really good. And I think that having the discipline for it is something that a lot of us need to cultivate, because you and George are specifically, I would say, especially good at being self-disciplined, where some of us need to grow it. So I think that in this methodology, do the most important thing first, and then you can start adding in maybe some of other stipulations. So, or other things you want to achieve utilizing this method. But first, it has to be whatever that most important thing is to you that you probably discussed with all your friends and everyone's asking you, like, what do you want to achieve this year? Whatever that really important thing is. Maybe it's not the most fun thing, but the most important thing, utilize this methodology first with that, and then grow the discipline to be able to do it in these other areas. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that's really it. So let's think through this a little bit more specifically then, because we're going to help you come up with your rule right now for at least this one thing. So you think about like the 4DX, 4 disciplines of execution mindset, tells us that lag measures are not something we should try to track objectively because you don't control them. They say outputs. It just so happens that all of our conversation here at AtoZrunning about training by effort is in fact closely aligned with the same business development mindset that Franklin Covey brought to all of their work through their organization, which is to say, you don't control how many times someone buys your product, but you do control how many times you send a marketing email about your product, or you do control how many times you talk to somebody about buying your product, right? And so your goal can't be centered around how much you get in sales. Your goal needs to be centered around how much you do that is likely to produce those sales. In running, your goal can't be running this pace as a day-to-day kind of focus, because you can't fundamentally control that. Your fitness fundamentally controls that. And now I could say you could coerce that, but it's actually very unhealthy to do so. So you could say I could force myself to run that pace, because if I know what pace I'm running, I can run it. But that's,
maybe not as long as the races, though.
Well, exactly. That's
for the
often
first little bit.
That's often not the right thing for you physiologically, because it's an output. And so your focus needs to be on the inputs, the things that produce that output. And as a rule then, for the Unbreakable rule that you're going to create for yourself, it needs to be an input. And so you can't say things like, you can't say things like, I'm going to run this fast for my goal race, and that's the rule. That doesn't make any sense. It needs to be the kind of stuff that you control, that you can measure, and that you can execute without it's uninhibited. It's the thing that you can actionably do.
I inadvertently, I'm just thinking this through now, did this like rule thing recently.
Hey.
With myself. Oh.
Yeah.
Did that just stop?
No. Give it to me.
So I really have been cold because it's Michigan, and it's been very, very chilly.
Yep.
And so I'll often really want to like get in a hot blanket because I have like a heated blanket. Zach spoiled me this winter.
Everything I bought Andy for presents in the last 2 months had to do with getting warmer.
Yes, because I really don't like being cold.
I think you were just feeling cold when you made your wish list.
Probably because I feel like I'm perpetually cold. And so before I go in a hot blanket or before I get cozy in that way, I had to exercise to some amount first.
That's good.
Because I get very sleepy then when I'm cozy and I don't want to work out.
Good.
So I inadvertently was doing George's rule trick.
The unbreakable rule. So this is what you did, is you said to yourself, I am cold and I want to get warm. It just so happens that you get warmer when you exercise.
That's true.
And you know that if you're getting warmer from the hot blanket, you're not going to exercise as much motivation to exercise because it's hard to do so. That's good. I love it. That's good. So yeah, talk about your things, right? What is it that you need rules about? And so it's stuff like, do my strength work on Tuesdays and Thursdays, like those kinds of things, right? That's what we're talking about here. Not drink pop with sugar in it. That's a great rule for all of us to have. So that kind of stuff. Okay, then I have to think about the stuff that gets in the way, because setting my rule around things that help avoid the obstacles is necessary. Otherwise, it's just not a helpful rule because I'm already going to do it. And so what kinds of things, I get too busy by the end of the day, and so I just don't end up running, or I don't end up having that extra 15 minutes to do my strength work. Or I do it in the morning, but it's really cold and dark in the morning, and sometimes I wake up and I think, I just don't like the cold and the dark today, and I don't want to do that. Or I'm tired, and so it's like I'll take extra 15 minutes of sleep and then run instead of my core routine and then run. All of those things are things you people tell us that you do or not do.
I just learned an interesting stat. It's actually at church, of all places, that on average, Americans spend 6 hours on social media per day. So
if you are on social media for more than 0 minutes a day, it's too much.
Okay, well, we don't need to do that, but we do need to evaluate where our time is going. And we've had this conversation on the podcast numerous times because it is a major obstacle for people. It's not really knowing where our time is going. So when we feel really busy, we feel really stressed, we feel like we don't have time, I think it's important for us to take inventory. We even have a podcast that has the word inventory in it, so feel free to search that and take that inventory. And I need to too. I'm not saying that as like just me to you, telling you what to do, but
Andy's
I also
social
need to
media
take
time offsets Zach's lack of social media time. Actually, it's not true, because YouTube counts in that statistic, and I do spend time on YouTube.
Yeah. So all that to say that when we are looking at our obstacles, it's important to take inventory and to be honest with ourselves about that. And Zach had said something like not drinking pop. I think that it's important when we're thinking about our rule that we have, it's something that we are doing. So instead of having a negative, like I'm not going to do X, what are you going to do instead? Because we are people who like to fill the void. So I'm going to drink more water. I'm going to, fill it with something that is helpful.
So here's an example of that, because, not drinking pop is not a productive rule because that's the end goal that you want. So how do you create a rule that helps you achieve that? And then you could say something like, I can't drink any soda until I have until I have consumed 60 ounces of water that day, which is, I'm trying to set a huge number on purpose here, until I've consumed 32 ounces of water. So now I fill up my 32-ounce water bottle or a 16-ounce water bottle twice, and I say I have to drink that much before I can drink anything that's not water or coffee, because in Andy's case, it's not allowed. You can't have water until you've had at least 10 cups of coffee. So that's an example of the kind of mindset that George applies to his rules, to his unbreakable rules. And it works really well, because now you're not fighting against that, like, the impossible goal, because the goal requires you to be all or nothing, which is very, very difficult for us to do. So you can create a kind of compromise within the goal, but in fact, the goal is making you do the thing you ultimately want. And so you say, okay, for every 32 ounces of water that I drink, I can drink one 12-ounce can of soda. And if those of you Diet Coke drinkers out there, because I know you're out there, you're going to say, that is too little. I need more Diet Coke than that. And I say, then you better keep drinking water, because you got to get 32 ounces in every time you have a can. All right, so this is good. This is the kind of thing. So we create your rules in that kind of mindset. Every time my alarm goes off for a run, I have to get up. So at the night before, if I set that alarm because I need to run at 5 o'clock tomorrow morning, then I have to get up when my alarm goes off. It's not an option anymore. If I set the alarm, that means I'm doing it.
I think that's a really interesting thing as I reflect on habits. I really think that if you disregard yourself and your rules and your intentions, it is so much harder to stick to something and achieve your goal. So for instance, if your alarm goes off and you're half the time you get up, then your alarm clock's immediately less effective.
Indeed. That is the point. Yes.
On your phone, if you set a limiter for time, talking to myself, and it comes up and it says your 10 minutes has been exceeded, type in your passcode for more time, and you just bypass your own rules, your own limitations, you're way less likely to listen to yourself and to adhere to those intentions.
So here you go. Here's your social media rule. Set your phone to give you a 1 hour time allotment for the day for social media, and allot that to specific apps, because otherwise it's not going to matter, because you'll just find other apps. But you give yourself your time allotment, right? And then you say, okay, if I cancel the warning that says you can't do this anymore and I bypass it, then that means tomorrow I get 0. That's it. So I might bypass it on some days, but it means tomorrow's 0. And I have to stick to that now. I have to, because that's my rule, and it's unbreakable. And you can do things like, okay, so running. If I can't run today, because there are things that are going to make that happen, then that means I have to run tomorrow, or exercise, because maybe the reason I'm not running is because of, injury and stuff. So if I can't run today, I'm for sure going to run tomorrow. Or if I know I need to do my strength training on Tuesdays and Thursdays, then it's like Tuesdays and Thursdays, I will set my alarm 20 minutes earlier than other days of the week, because then I have 20 more minutes to do. And you're going to say, well, I need those 20 minutes of sleep. It's not going to make a difference. 20 minutes of sleep is not going to change your life. Not once or twice a week. So these are the kinds of things we're trying to do that could help us. So I want to give you just a quick example, because we were talking about this with some runners recently, and this is the exact situation that has come up numerous times in conversations with our own athletes whom we coach. I wake up to meet people to run on certain days of the week. Many of our runners do this, and this is awesome. We've talked about it before. It's a really great thing to do. However, sometimes the people I run with cancel, and sometimes the weather's so bad that we just can't. It's just not an option. And so here's the rule. On those days, I'm going to wake up at the same time that I would to run with those runners, and if for some reason it's canceled or we can't because of weather or something like that, then I'm just going to run on my own. Treadmill, exercise bike, whatever the thing is, right? I'm still going to do the thing at the time I planned. It's just not always going to be with those other people. And then you talk to each other in your little group, and you all commit to the same rule together, because now, even though you're not together, everyone's in the same boat. And we have to remember the power of that social. So how do we help make sure that these rules we're trying to set actually do something for us? Because in reality, the same kind of thinking can apply to this as applies to goal setting, which is to say many of us do it and none of us actually do it. But there are things that make a difference. Write it down. They say writing down your goals increases your chance of achieving them by like 42%. And that's just one example from Psych today, but there's many others. And it's significant. So write down the rule and then put it on your mirror so you see it every day before and after bedtime, because those are the times when we tend to make deals with ourselves. I didn't get to bed quite as early as I wanted to. Or I wake up in the morning and I'm not feeling great about going out and running right now because I'm tired. Okay, so write it down. Put it on your mirror. Don't make it infinite. This is a key to George's success that I thought was huge. It's not a forever rule for the rest of time. It's for this week or for this month, this is my rule. And so this is where you need to be savvy, because the SMART goals say that timely, or time bound rather, is an important part of an achievable goal. And in fact, it's one of the most important parts of an achievable goal, because if the goal is something that you have to do forever, it never feels like it's actually achievable. It always feels like an impossible task. So instead, I can do anything for the next week. I can skip pop every day for the next week. That's not that hard. I don't have to be on social media for more than 30 minutes every day this week. But if you can do 1 week, you can definitely do the next one. You can definitely do it. So you create a time-bound rule. This is my rule for this week. And the next week, I'll tweak it a little bit. I'll keep it interesting. So I can't watch that show unless I'm on the treadmill for the next month or for the next week. And then you come up with another variation of that same goal, that same rule. That works. And then the last one, as far as our key suggestions for achieving the stuff we set out to achieve, is get other people involved. Because the reality is every one of us out there, including George, left to ourselves in isolation, we are weak. We are pitifully weak. And we need help. Mm-hmm. And so your people, the people around you, are going to make your rules more achievable, just like your goals.
Absolutely.
All right, well, to kind of wrap it up, behavior change is just really, really hard. There's just no other way around it. It's probably about the hardest thing that we try to do. Andy said it earlier, we need to inventory ourselves and our situation. We need to know where we're making mistakes, where we're going awry, and then we need to set rules and goals and such around those types of things. It's really important for me to know which habits of character I don't want to be doing and which ones I do want to be doing, because it's just the fact. You can say something like 6 hours of social media every day, which when did you say you encountered that? That's probably a more recent statistic.
That was at church.
Yeah. It keeps going up. It keeps going up. And so every year you're going to find that number is higher in the last 20 years. And the reason for that is because most of us are not trying to do anything about that. We're not looking at our own situation and saying, oh, this is a problem in my life. And so we need to be reflective, and we need to spend the time to figure those things out.
And I think it's important, and you're going to say Andy, of course, but figure out, like, why is it that I want to make that unbreakable rule? Like, what will that give me? And I think it's important to think of the gifts of the change. So it could be the incremental, which is important because we have these long-term lofty goals, and that's what we love to focus on. But if you're like, I want to get an hour back of my life every day, and that's why I'm doing this thing, right? I think that really helps you be more rigorous in maintaining the hard lines.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's a good example. Like, take into consideration those bottom line needs. I need an hour back of my life because I feel like I never have time for anything, but it turns out I'm spending 6 hours a day on social media. So then it's stuff like after 9 p.m., I'm no longer allowed to be on social media. Like, that's my hard line. 9 p.m. is the cutoff. No screens. By the way, they tell you you're going to get better sleep, and your sleep is going to be better for you if you're not on a screen.
It's hard when you're working on screens, though. I do think it's a challenge.
I have never tried at all to limit my screen time a certain amount of time before bed, but it probably would be helpful to me if I did.
Yeah.
It's not something that
but we are like working to the last minute.
Well, anyway, so you've got that thought, and then you have to remember that change is slow. And so you're going to say, oh, this feels hard, it feels hard, until like one day it doesn't, and that's going to be a long time down the road. And so that's true. The change is either going to take years and forever, like kind of feeling, or it's the result of catastrophic transformative experiences. And so that's just the nature of it. And we have to be able to be understanding of that reality while working productively in the ways that matter, that help, that make a difference. So there you go. The Unbreakable Rule.
Thanks, George Goad.
George. It's really good. It's really exciting. It's going to make a difference for
It
you.
will.
So figure it out. What's going to be your rule? And then share with us what you decide on your rule, because we're very curious how this might specifically be valuable to you.
Yeah. I'd love to hear it.
And it's time for everyone's favorite running game, the running trivia A to Z running game. We need to come up with a name. Let's name this.
Any
We'll
ideas,
do that.
folks?
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll name it. And if you've got the name in mind, then you're going to come up with it for us. Okay, so remember the rules. We randomly select topics from our category spinner, which is always lots of fun. We get multiple choice questions. We're going to do 3 questions, and the first to 10 over the course of however many episodes it takes to get to 10 wins, and the loser buys the winner some kind of running thing. Currently the score is Andy has 6 points. Zach has 7 points.
Close.
So we keep saying there's a chance, once we get to 7, there's a chance we could win in this episode, but I don't know if I've ever gotten 3 points in one episode. So.
They're not easy questions,
No,
usually. They're usually kind of obscure.
Yeah, that's just the way it goes. Okay, so the spinner is going. It's going to tell us, interesting.
Ooh.
General statistics about ultramarathoning in the 1970s.
Okay.
I like it. This is something different. We've actually never had a combination quite like this. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I got to put the topic in here so I don't forget it later on. Okay, so we're going to ask the AI to do just that for us. And as we've been learning, we have to, in order for this AI to give us the kind of thing we're looking for, we have to remind it of the prompt, because it just loses track of what it's actually supposed to be doing, which I guess is a classic AI problem, but I find that to be a little bit hilarious, because I can look back on the feed that we're discussing and very easily find out what that original prompt was, but somehow the computer can't.
All right.
Okay, we're going. Hey, it is time for some more of our AI trivia with our A to Z running audience. And so this week, remember how the game works. We're going to ask you, or you're going to ask us, questions with multiple choice options, 4 options. One of them is correct, and we're going to guess which one's correct, and you're going to tell us if it is or not. So for this week, our focus is general statistics about ultra marathoning in the 1970s. Go ahead and give us our first question.
All right, let's kick this off. Here's your question. In the 1970s, what was the approximate distance of the first official modern ultramarathon, the Western States Endurance Run? Is it A, 50 miles, B, 62 miles, C, 100 miles, or D, 135 miles?
All right.
The first
The
one?
first, Western States.
Okay.
First one. I think it said first official modern ultra marathon. What a question. Okay, and so which distance? Do you need those again for a reminder? A, 50 miles, B, 62 miles, C, 100, or D, 135. Do you have an answer? We'll go in 5, 4. Okay, 3, 2, 1, go. Ooh, so you said 62.
I wanted
said
to say
100.
the obscure one
Oh, interesting.
because I feel like it might be obscure.
Because everything in the 70s was weird.
I don't know.
All right, what was the correct answer?
The correct answer is actually C, 100 miles.
Oh,
The Western States Endurance Run established that iconic century distance early on. Great first guess.
Yeah,
Was it,
Aaron, you
though?
can be proud of me.
Don't be
'cause
proud of
I
me,
knew,
though.
I knew that. I actually knew that one. Because that is Western States is famous for that exact thing.
Well, I didn't know the first one was that.
Well, I didn't know the first one was necessarily either, but I knew that that's why Western States was famous. So I figured it had to be linked in some sense. Okay, that was great. So give us another question. Second question. Remember, the topic is general statistics about ultra marathoning in the 1970s.
All right, round 2. In the 1970s, which continent saw the first official 100-kilometer road race recognized by the International Association of Ultra Runners? Was it A, Europe, B, North America, C, Asia, or D, Australia?
So the continent
not
with
Japan.
the first official 100-kilometer road race. Well, it said Asia, and Japan is
okay, yeah.
a part of Asia. So,
Yeah.
so we have continent. I thought maybe it was going to say country, but now we get to really just focus on big picture here.
Okay.
I have my guess. You have your guess?
I don't know what number it is.
Oh, okay, here. A, Europe. B, North America.
Okay.
Asia, or Australia.
All right.
3, 2, 1, go! Oh, we both guessed Europe. We both guessed Europe. What was the correct answer?
You both nailed it. The correct answer is A, Europe. In the 1970s, Europe was indeed the stage for that first officially recognized 100-kilometer road race. Nicely done.
Oh,
Okay, Zach has 9 points
I
here.
have 9 points. So this last question is game point. Game point question. If I get this one right, I win. That would be very exciting. So go ahead and give us one more question about general statistics for ultra-marathoning in the 1970s.
All right, high stakes. Here's your final one. In the 1970s, what age group saw the largest growth in participation in ultramarathons? Was it A, under 30, B, 30 to 39, C, 40 to 49, or D, 50 and older?
Oh my. Okay, which age group? 30, under 30, or 30s, 40s, or 50s? What's your guess? You got it yet?
Yep.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go! Ooh, you guessed
3.
C or 3.
40s.
You guessed 40s and I guessed 30s. Uh-oh. What was the correct answer?
Drum roll. The correct answer is B, 30 to 39.
Oh, Zach just
The
did it!
Zachs really jumped into the ultra scene back then. So, Zach, you clinched it. Congrats on that game point.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I got it. Nailed it.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. That's very kind of you.
He just likes me to give him presents.
Well, who doesn't? Who doesn't like presents? I'm very excited about.
Last time I got him turkey trot socks, which he wore through the season but didn't wear it on our turkey trot
That's
day.
because it was frigid. It was too cold. I needed like thermal socks.
Oh, that's hilarious.
And you wouldn't have seen them anyway because I was wearing long tights.
It's
too,
true.
So,
It's
yeah,
true.
I wore them at the turkey party
Okay.
later in the day.
You did utilize them.
I wore them a lot. In fact, I still wear them on occasion, even though it's not seasonally appropriate anymore.
Okay.
They're great. Yeah, thank you. So now you got to think of another thing. Well, that was exciting. Thank you for letting me win. And also,
Of course, I let you.
Also, I think that was fascinating. So that's an area, that's a category that we don't necessarily have a lot of specific knowledge about, but because it was like general statistics stuff, we could deduce things a little bit more. Like, the continent, like Europe, made more sense to us than any of the others in this instance.
And please don't think less of me because of my bumble of brain.
Nah. But the age thing is another really fascinating one. You think about, okay, so who in the 1970s, who wants to run ultra marathons more? And it's like, well, today it probably would be the 40s. That probably would be the age group that is running ultra marathons more. I'm just kind of off the cuff speculating. But it's curious to kind of see how these things have and do transform over time. So that was fun.
Yeah, I thought so.
Especially because I won.
Great topic.
It was. All right, so there you go. Next episode, we're going to reset the scoreboard and see if Andy can clinch her victory this next one. But for now, Zach takes the prize, 10 points to 8. What a close game. Well done. We'll do it again next time. If you're playing along, let us know how many points you get and how close you get to victory. And if for some reason you beat either of us to 10 points, then we got to talk about that because you got to get the prize at that point. So we'll work it out. We'll work it out. But for now, that about does it for this week's running trivia. Now it's time to dig deep into the world of running. What has been going on? It has been a few weeks since we've shared our latest podcast episode, and so there's been a ton to talk about.
There has.
We got to go through it.
Definitely. But first, let's get some congratulations going for our A to Z runners, starting with Kate, who ran 3 races, maybe
Everything.
more. I don't know.
Everything.
But 3 races that we chatted about. The Cranberry Crawl 5K, she was second in age group. Rudolph Race Half Marathon, second in age group. And Winter Haynes Point 10K, where she was the second overall female and ran her fastest 10K in 20 years.
Oh, yeah. Kate.
Love it.
All right. Oh, yeah.
So good.
Well done. Craig ran his 13th marathon on the year at the Rehoboth Beach Seashore Marathon. That was in Delaware. knocked out his 47th state
Wow.
on his quest to run a marathon in every of the United States. He just did 47. He's got 1, 2, 3 to go. That's so exciting. Good work, Craig. We're looking forward to seeing you through it. And a lot of AtoZ runners running at the Resolution Run 4-mile race.
Yeah, that's where we ran too. And Mike was second in age group, Aaron first in age group, and Brian and Joe wrapped up the year strong, also running the 4-mile race.
Good times.
Good times.
Fun and exciting things. And we're always glad to kind of close out the year.
I'm going to hijack this now.
Oh.
All right. We are going to talk about Zach's Marathon Project race because people have asked for it and you must satisfy the people. So we're going to talk about the Marathon Project, which happened in Arizona in December. Zach, to recap it briefly, ran in the pro race, which was on Sunday. They had a gold race, which was on Saturday, where they gave aid to every runner. It was a fabulous event. I highly recommend it. And it was a loop course. And in that loop course, Zach will explain it further, but me and my boys and my mom were able to see Zach 12 times. So Zach, tell us about the course and how we were able to see you so much.
Yeah, it was a very unique event. So as Andy's saying, the event is set up to be a like competition style, like a championship rather is the word I was looking for, championship style race. And so instead of your traditional giant public marathon with tens of thousands of people, it was a limited field size. There were a limit of 500 in each of the men's and the women's for the gold race, and then a limit of 100 in each of the men's and the women's for the pro race. I had the honor of being able to participate in the pro race. And so what they did then in terms of this concept of a championship style marathon is they run a loop course. There's a couple of reasons for that. One is like TV coverage type of stuff. It certainly helps. But others are controlling the course factors more. We actually ran on a kind of like closed campus scenario. It's basically the service drive for an event center in, I think it's Gila River Reservation, just south of Phoenix, Arizona. And so it's not really like public roads. They are public roads, but it's not roads that have traffic that they have to shut down regularly or anything like that. And then also it allows for, you can control for other factors. So there's absolutely no elevation. It was totally flat. And they had no major turns. And so we did the same kind of like service drive back and forth. And what happens is you get to the end, it's like shaped like the letter C. And you get to the end and it's a boulevard kind of road, divided road. And so you just turn that cul-de-sac and come back around the other way. And you just do that back and forth, back and forth. As Andy said, spectators were able to see the runners a minimum of 12 times, depending on exactly where they stood near like the start-finish. They might have seen us a couple more times than that. But really, really an exceptional setup for both the spectator experience and for the athletes. It's just a totally different approach to racing a marathon. It's a lap course, 6 laps as it were, although you're running the same basic route on both sides of the lap. So it's like 12 essentially patterns, which is really cool because now you have a much more like kind of competitive approach to the idea of the long distance race. It's pretty cool.
Remind everyone when you chose this race.
A year ago, I was sitting having dinner with my coach, Q. He was my college coach, and off and on over the years we've collaborated at a minimum, and he has coached me through Olympic trials qualifications on the track and personal bests in almost every distance. And so we can come back to that. But we were talking a year ago. We have dinner occasionally every month or two. We sit down and have dinner just to, kind of stay in touch. And he said, you should run a faster marathon, but not like a Chicago, like the majors where the winning times are super fast. A marathon that has a guaranteed field running things like 2:12 to 2:14 times. And he's like, you should do that and then just see if you can keep up. I was like, that sounds like a bad idea.
In contrast, a lot of the races in the last several years that Zach has run, most of them, he hasn't been running with very many other people. So there'll be like one or two guys that he'll be able to run with during the race. And it would not even be the whole time some of the time. So it's more lonely racing. It's more like get in your own head, grind it out sort of deal. Well, we know, and research has shown that people do better when they're in groups, and there is a momentum that is carried when you're with other people. So one of the objectives in choosing a race was finding one where Zach could be in a group.
Yeah.
So did that happen? Were you in a group?
Yeah. I was right smack in the middle of the race. In fact, at the start, at least, it did happen exactly like that. No, Andy's exactly right. Just by the numbers, and not saying this because it's going to sound boastful no matter what I say, but this is not intended to be boastful. But just by the numbers, with the exception of the 2022 Chicago Marathon, I've won every marathon I've run. I've placed first in every marathon I've run since 2017. And
Well, the Olympic trials.
right. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. With the exception of, yep. So if that's true, it means that I'm running races that I'm pretty much only running races that I have a good chance of winning. And my coach was like, that's not helpful. Like, you need to run a range of races. And so he was like, you shouldn't just be running races that you are confident you can win. You should run races that you have no chance of winning. And you do that on occasion. He said, so you also need to run races that you could have a chance of winning, but you're definitely not going to be trying to win the race, especially at the beginning.
And I will say the reason that he wasn't was because of travel. That was a main part of the consideration in the last handful of years because we have young kids. So that it's not like you've been avoiding that kind of scenario, but it takes more.
Maybe I have been avoiding. Maybe I'm a little bit scared.
A little scared. But I will say that going back to the marathon project being one that was really great to take our family to.
Yeah.
Because we could be involved in his race by way of cheering more often. It's more engaging. The weather was good for us as spectators as well. And we were at a resort, which was super fun for the kids. So there was a lot of boxes that were checked for us as a family too, because that has been a consideration when choosing a marathon in the past.
Absolutely. I mean, it just, the marathon spectating experience is often just no fun at all for the spectators. Like, it's just not something that's enjoyable. You watch the start, then you watch the finish. And it's like, oh, hope they have a great run for the next couple hours. All that kind of thing. And so this had some perks to that. And then, as Andy said earlier, and the segue here is the race itself was built out to be an opportunity for runners to have a kind of cohort at certain benchmarks. And those benchmarks were 210 and under, although it ended up being 208 and under, as well as 210 and under, but 210 and under, and 212 and 214 and 216. And so Q, my coach, says you should try to run at a minimum with that 214 group and just see what happens. That's the thought.
So this is where I'm going to pause and ask you another question, because that was something that looked to be a possibility. So let's talk about Monumental and then what happened in the weeks after that made maybe that seem like an ambitious goal going to the start line.
So we were talking not long ago on this podcast episode about the idea of like setting a goal on a specific pace and how there's some challenges to that, and in particular, the way you train is a question. And so part of this conversation is we deliberately set out to run this season contrary to how we would generally recommend an athlete goes about something. And the reason for that is quite simple. We wanted to tackle an all or nothing scenario and just see what happens. I wasn't too concerned with the what if I blow up and run terribly in this race, or what if I blow up and I can't even finish? Like that was a fine risk to take for me here. I was not going out to try to see how fast can I run on this day and try to maximize the potential of getting the exact most out of my body that day. If that's the case, I would recommend a very different approach to what we did. Instead, I was going out to try to see, can I run this time? Can I do that? And the only way to find out is to try. And so that was that mindset. However, as Andy's saying, in preparation for this race, there was at least some question around, is this a terrible idea, or is this within the range of possibility, ballpark it. And so one of the things we did to try to figure that out is race a half marathon about 6 weeks before the race, or in the monumental half. And we talked about it on our last episode, or one of our most recent episodes. And so you can go back and listen to the full exchange there. But the end result of that race, running 1:03:40 something for the time in the half marathon, was a clear confirmation that running 2:14 for a full marathon should be possible. Mm-hmm. It's no guarantee.
And then what happened though after that?
Well, so then things, okay. So
I think it's good to
everything fell apart.
Tell people what happened.
Everything fell apart. It was crazy. It was a perfect storm of all the worst things that happened to a runner. And so the training for the first 9 weeks of training this season for me, it was as close to flawless as it can be. Everything just went well. I could execute all the planned workouts. I felt strong the entire time. My fitness was building progressively. I was feeling the benefits of the training. Everything was just going really well. That's major props to Andy and the family for making that possible by just the way we could live our life this fall. But and then I ran Monumental Half, and it went really well. And the week after that, I was able to bounce back pretty quickly. I didn't feel like it was a major challenge for my body. After a couple of days of light running and such, I was right back at it. But 7-8 days after that race, I came down with this nasty illness, which I think I shared on the podcast also about that. But I came down with this nasty illness where I couldn't eat anything for 2 days. And as you know, that means my body has no fuel, no nutrition, no energy. And so then it took multiple days after that for me to get back to a state where I felt like I could run without it being clearly something's wrong here. And so I had about 50% of what I might have done training wise that week. It affected about that degree of training. And then the week after that, it started snowing. And it didn't just snow like in December in Michigan. It started winter all at once, savagely. And so the temperatures dropped 20 degrees within a couple of days and then stayed. And snow started falling in large quantities. And so what happens when it snows? Well, there's a lot of things. First, we got to shovel a lot. That's, we got to shovel the snow off the driveway so we can actually get off the driveway. Second, we're starting to run indoors on treadmills or indoor tracks or something like that. All of that's happening. And I developed a hamstring stress injury of some kind. It was not exactly clear what was going on, but my hamstring, in particular on one side, was responding very poorly to everything. Working with Adam at Endurance Rehabilitation. Adam
Shout out.
Outstanding. And working with him, and right away he's recognizing oh, you're shoveling snow quite a bit. You're running on treadmills a lot. It's probably stressing your hamstring over much, and we gotta do some things to work on this. And so he was working with me on it. But even though we were doing some things to actively work on it, we also were still having to shovel snow because it just kept snowing every other day, and still running on the treadmill quite a bit because there's a day where I want to go run 10 miles, but it's just snowed, 5 inches, and it's slush and snow, and there's nowhere to run outside that's good footing, and I had to be careful. So here's what starts to happen. I'm supposed to run a particular workout on one day, hills, and I can't run on hills that day. So I just go easy on the treadmill. And then the next day I tried to run the next workout, the next high effort day. And
outside.
Yep, outside, but it's 19 degrees and a stiff wind. And so going out and trying to run at a high effort for 20 miles, because remember, I'm marathon prep here. And so I'm doing long workouts too. It just wasn't happening. And I could tell the cold was having a more significant effect on me than it normally seems to in the winter. And I think a big part of that is because of how quickly it happened. My body was not at all adapted and ready for it. And so trying to run high efforts for long periods of time in this maladapted context, it just was not working. And so I was canceling efforts, I was making adjustments, or I was just kind of
And hamstring.
plowing through it. And my hamstring all the while was kind of getting worse. It was not getting better, and then it started to get worse. And it may well be because I was just trying to push through it.
Well, and like doing tiny corners in a YMCA.
Yeah, so let me tell you about a couple of the examples. One day, Q wanted me to run 5 by 5K, 5 times 5 kilometers with about a minute rest in between each, and run it more or less at marathon pace / effort. And so I was pretty confident I was ready to go for that. It sounded like a manageable effort given what else I've been doing in training. And yet the day that I set out to do it, it was about 22 degrees and a significant wind, and it had just snowed. And so and it actually started snowing as well while the workout was happening. And so I didn't really have any good places to run. So I thought, okay, I'll pick this country road that has huge shoulders that routinely is plowed very well, which it was in this instance. However, I had to run on the edge of this road just out and back over and over. So I do 5K out, jog for a minute, 5K back, jog for a minute, 5K out. And I just did that. And so every other time I did it, I was running mostly uphill and into the wind. And it was just rocking me. Like I could not hardly manage it. And so I got done with that workout, and I only ran a little bit faster than my easy run pace was, not long before that. And so this is why we tell you not to pay attention to paces.
Exactly.
Because you would have gotten very discouraged.
Did you get discouraged, Seth?
No, not really. Well, I did, but not because of the pace. Because I've been doing this for a long time, and so I know in that scenario, there's just no way you'd ever run the pace that you would hope you could run under perfect circumstances. So I wasn't worried about the pace. I was just frustrated because I was so heavily affected by that weather. Like I was slowing progressively throughout the run. Every rep got slower, and it was just getting harder and harder for me to get my body into a state of sustained effort, like all of that. That wasn't good. So that's one. Another one, we decided to just can the whole plan. And instead of running the 19-mile workout I was going to do, I went to one of those like 10 laps to a mile indoor tracks around some basketball courts at a rec center at a nearby university. So we are blessed in West Michigan with a number of significant indoor track facilities, like world class. Grand Valley State University has a 300-meter indoor track that is one of the best in the country. It's outstanding. But you aren't allowed to run on them unless you are a student at these universities. Or in the case of Grand Valley, if you have a monthly membership, you actually can use that track, which is awesome. What I didn't know is that it takes about 4 weeks to process your membership application, and so I couldn't get that membership in time to use their track. Otherwise,
Poor timing.
Poor timing. So
it's also like 40 minutes from our house. So.
Everything was on the table at this point, like any options. I was calling coaches from universities, and I even got one coach who said, I'm on vacation in Hawaii right now, but if I wasn't, I would try to help you out here.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, I know. It's crazy. All
right, you got to get to the race now.
Yeah,
Zach.
well, so let me finish at least that comment. So I went to this rec center track, 10 laps to a mile, and I tried to run this 19-mile workout, averaging somewhere around 5:05 pace throughout this workout. Actually, I was averaging under that by the end of it. And I was able to execute, although halfway through the workout, the turns were having such a toll on my ankles and my feet that I actually went downstairs. In this same rec center, they have these Woodway treadmills. If you're familiar with a Woodway treadmill, you know what I'm talking about. It's not a normal treadmill. It's a beast. And so I jumped on that for the next 25% of the workout, just to change something. And then I went back upstairs to the track and finished the workout on it. And, it was okay, except my hamstring was a little bit worse.
Probably
the
worse.
Next day. Probably affected it. So we get to the week of the race. And at that point, I'm like, I don't know if I should be running.
You didn't even
anymore.
run, did you?
I ran twice that week. I took most of the week off. And when I would try to jog, it was like, oh, this is really bad. And so I just stopped the jog pretty quickly. I ran like maybe 30 minutes at most. And then I was working with Adam Homolka at Endurance Rehab. I was starting to get laser therapy from the Ortho Laser folks, which, by the way, shout out to Ortho Laser. Those guys are awesome. Thanks for helping me out. It definitely made a difference. But I was still trying to push it And so, the laser is helping speed recovery while I'm also doing things that are not necessarily helping either. And so I get to 2 days before the race, Friday, we fly to Arizona and we get to the warm, dry, it was 70 degrees in the afternoon, 75 actually by the time I went for a run. And I tell you what, and this is where like, humble me. Oh my Lord, humble me as he does, because I go out for that run and I felt great. Like all the problems were gone. And I'm running and I just start talking to God and I'm just like, I know this doesn't mean that on race day I'm going to be like a new person. I'm going to just feel all the great things. But in this moment, the gift that you just gave me to go for this run and just feel good, I do not deserve this. And yet I am so grateful. And so there I find myself humbled. Not my power, that's for sure. So I got to Arizona, and all of those problems, I could put them behind me and say, I don't know exactly what race day is going to be like, but I feel like it's worth the attempt, and I'm going to give it a try.
All right.
Okay.
So now let's transition to the race itself, okay?
All right. So I'll try not to talk too much. I give all the details nobody cares about. Remember my approach here. This is an all or nothing day. And so that could have been hampered. Actually, Q said, we met just recently for a kind of debrief. We got lunch and debriefed the race a bit more. And he's like, I thought all week, because I was talking to him, I was telling him what was going on the whole time. He was very much in the loop. All week, he's like, I just kept thinking, we're gonna get to race day and he's gonna run 4 miles and drop out because his hamstring's just gonna be done. And he's like, I was so worried about that. and so that was the fear, right? But in my head I was like, I need to set that all aside and say the plan still stands. This is an all or nothing day. And so we're going
Which
to try.
is what we don't typically recommend this.
No, this wouldn't be the way I would try to get the most out of a race experience, but this is the reason I was going to this race. This is the reason I was running this event, was to try to find out what happens if I run under 2:14 with a pace group. And so let's see. So I just was able to, I think that actually, to just remember that here's what I'm here to do. And so it didn't actually matter to me if I tried and failed, as long as I tried, in the sense that it does matter, of course, but the try is the only thing I control, and the rest just happens. Mm-hmm. So that was very encouraging. So then the day before the race, we do our tech meeting. You get in the room of 200 athletes, or in this case, it was about 100 athletes and some coaches, and they tell you all about the event, and you get the nerves flying, and then they say, okay, and here are your pacers, and everyone in the room who was a pacer would raise their hand. I'm pacing this pace. And then after the meeting, we all met together, and so I got to see what other guys are going to try to run with this group, and who am I running with, who's my team for tomorrow. And that was really neat. We chatted for a little bit. So then when race day shows up, I knew who I was going to run with. I knew who I was looking for and what we were going to do. The plan was set, and there were no decisions to be made, and that was a good place to be. All I had to do was just do my normal routine and get ready to race. Mm-hmm. So we go through all the motions, do all the warm-ups. It's really kind of surreal when you do these types of events, because there's nobody there except for, quote unquote, the professionals. And so it's really quiet. There's not a lot of energy, but it's this subdued tension, because these people are some of the best to ever do it. And yet it's quiet and calm. It was really interesting. I love it. I love watching everybody's warm-up routines and stuff.
Everyone's trying to be respectful, I think.
Oh, yeah, but also everyone's just doing their own thing.
Yeah.
And it's the way it always goes. You've got the Hoka team over there who are all rowdy. I said everything's quiet. It wasn't actually. The Hoka team over there who are all rowdy, and they're talking, and half of them are pacers, and so they're trying to just kind of talk up their people who they're going to be pacing. It was cool. So yeah, you get the race experience going. Starts with the warm-up routines. I get there about an hour before. We were staying in a hotel that was, a walk away from the race course. And so we just right away get there, go through all the motions, get out to the race course for some stride outs before the race starts. I do a kind of run out behind the race start line and turn around to go back toward the start line. And Q, my coach, is standing right next to me. Like, he was right next to me when I turned around. I don't know how I didn't see him when I ran past him the first time. But I turned around, and he's like, I'm here, because I did not know that he was coming.
So cool.
What an incredible
How nice.
surprise.
And his wife, Jane, who's been a part of this, who's a major friend and supporter.
Jane is the anchor to every runner's good experience, if you know Jane. Jane was there, Q was there, and that was just really cool. And it, and a perfect moment for me to see them. Like, if I was running already the race, and then I was like, I see them outside, and I was like, oh wow, they're here. Like, that could have been not as beneficial as I see them before the start, and it's like, okay, so now I've got my whole crew around me. Andy's here with the family, Q and Jane are here, and so we're gonna do this thing. And it was a renewed confidence in the objective, which I thought was just awesome.
Cool.
Okay, and so the rest now is simple. The race starts, and I know who I'm running with. We were just standing next to each other at the start, and so the race starts, and we just start running together. And it's basically like when, in this kind of scenario, those of you who run with a pace group understand what I'm describing here. You shut off your mind and you just run. And for a marathon, that really means it's pretty easy at first. You don't have to do anything. You just run with your people. And so because the people are there, you don't have to try to like make sure you're running what you want to be running. Like, you don't have to check in with your effort necessarily. Obviously you do. Fundamentally, you should always be checking in with your effort, but it's not something that you're having to try to make adjustments in the same active sense as when you're by yourself. So I'm running with the pace group, and it's like 4 miles into the race, and I was thinking, okay, my hamstring's kind of tight. Like, I'm feeling it for these miles. Thankfully, by the way, the pacer was a little bit slow in the first mile, which might have been by design. He might have done it on purpose. I don't know if that was the decision he made, but because he was a little bit slow, it gave us a chance to kind of ease into it, because 5:06 pace is pretty quick.
I'd say so.
It's pretty quick. And so
you?
if we're going to try to run 5:06 pace, which is about 2:14, just under, for 26 miles, it's nice to run 5:15 for the first mile. It was very nice.
A nice, relaxed 5:15.
I'm not saying it was that. I'm saying 5:15 felt way better than 5:06 would have in the first mile. So we did. We ran the first mile a little slow, and I kind of started to think, is this pacer just going to be off? But no, he dialed it up, but he dialed it up gradually. We didn't even feel the difference, and we got onto the pace that he was paid to run, and then we just started rolling. But as I say, my hamstring started to feel pretty tight, and I was getting worried, like it was feeling like it would when it was starting to get bad on some of my other runs. And then after about 4 miles or so, but I didn't think about it, because it didn't matter. It didn't make a difference to me if my hamstring was tight in mile 3, because I was still going to do what I was going to do. So why worry? And then after about 4 miles, I stopped feeling it. Like, my hamstring was no longer a problem. And I don't know if it's just if it was just in my head, because my hamstring definitely got sore after the race. But I stopped feeling it, and I didn't feel it the rest of the race, which was, once again, but for the grace of God, there go I, because there's nothing that Zach did that made that possible. So here we are running, and all we're trying to do is just run together as this group. What's astounding in this race is that the distance between the 2:12 group in front of us and our 2:14 group felt like miles. Like, they were so far ahead of us. I just kept thinking, that group is like, there's no way we'd catch any of them, because even if they were dying in the end of the race, they're so far ahead. It was crazy. But we just did our thing. And after about 13 miles, half marathon comes along. We're right on pace. We came through the half at about 1:07. And then suddenly the pacer turns to the group next to us, and he's like, okay, good luck, guys. And I was like, what? That was so abrupt. We went from he was just doing great to he's done. And
you were hoping for like 20 miles, right?
We were hoping for a little more out of the pacer. Now, to his credit, most of the pacers dropped right around that time. It just, as it happens to be, running 5:06 pace is not easy for anybody, and he did a great job to get us through that half, but he was done. So, because it was so abrupt, this is what I think is the challenge here. I think if he would have said a mile before that, I think I might be done at 13, then we would have had that time to kind of prepare for the moment when he drops out. But because he just suddenly was done, the group kind of just fragmented, like instantly. And over the course of the next minute or so, everyone separated. It was kind of weird and a little bit startling. And so after about a minute, after he dropped, I just looked around and realized that I was alone. I was ahead of the rest of the group. And the group wasn't a group anymore behind me. It was just kind of everyone was strung out. And so I think it was my fault. I'll own it. I think it was my fault. I think I sped up unintentionally. And part of it was because the pacer's gone. Now we need to kind of like dial it in a little bit to stay focused. And instead, I think I broke the group up. I didn't break anyone, but I broke the group up because of the change. So my apologies to you gents if that was the case. But here's what happens. I'm about 10 meters ahead of everybody else, and I don't feel like I'm doing anything differently. So I just said to myself, I'm just going to kind of go with what I'm doing right now and see where I'm at. So the next mile, I checked the split. It was about 5:02. So yes, I did speed up, and yes, it was my fault. But remember the game plan here is to just find out. And so I'm like, all right, I'm feeling great right now. This was the point in the race when I was feeling the best by far. And I was like, okay, if that's true and I've got a little more in me that's possible, I got to milk it for all it's worth. Because what if I run 2:13? What if that happens right now? And so I go with it, and I run about 5 minutes to 5:02 pace for the next several miles, and I'm just feeling like that's just right. And then mile 19 comes along, and I go from 5:02 at mile 18 to 5:12 at mile 19 without feeling any different. And for those of you who have done this enough out there, you know that's a bad thing, because that means your body's fatiguing, and it's no longer producing the output for the given energy expenditure that you're pushing. So now I have to start making decisions. Okay, I've got 7 miles to go. Do I try to double it back in a little bit here, or do I just hold my effort and see what happens? And my decision was I'm going to kind of try to like make sure that I'm not losing ground accidentally, like keep it dialed in, but I'm not going to try to like regain anything here. I just want to see what happens. And the next mile was about 5:14, 5:12-ish. It was in that same range. And I was like, okay, my body is tiring, but I'm holding out a great effort here. And if I just keep this up, I'm going to be just fine. And then I started to feel badly. So then mile 21 was somewhere in the 5:20s. And I'm thinking, okay, this is not happening anymore. Like I'm not running 2:13. That's for sure, because my body is not handling this well now. And so it became a kind of what can I do here to make sure this still happens? So mile 21, that's what I'm thinking. Mile 22, now I'm starting to try to do some math. How slow can I run for the next 4.5 miles and still run under 2:16? Because remember,
that's the qualifier.
2:16 is the Olympic trials qualification mark. My PR was 2:16:30 something a couple of years back, but they bumped the qualification time up even faster for this next Olympic cycle. So I got to run under 2:16 to get that. And while the goal was try and die for the 2:14 or under pace, I didn't have 2:14 in my legs anymore. But I was like, I'm not too far off. I could salvage this. I could still do this. And so by no means was it like I was going to stop because I wasn't on 2:14 pace. But then mile 23 was even slower. And now I'm like, I don't know if I can run what I need to run for the next 3 miles to get under 2:16. But I was also starting to have a hard time running the calculations in my head. And it was partly the
math
fatigue.
Is hard, you all know.
Yes.
Running math is hard.
So I get 2 miles to go, same thing. A mile to go. Well, it's not a mile to go. I cross mile 25, and because it's a mile and change to go, I was very confused at that point. And some guys caught me. Some of those guys from my group, in fact. Well, at the same time, I was catching some of the guys who were dropping out or dying out from the group in front of us. But some guys from my group caught me, and it kind of like refocused me a little bit. Like, I'm not done yet. I got to stay dialed in here. I've got a mile to go. And then I tried to do the math, and it was like I have to run this mile and change in under 7 minutes to run under 2:16. But I wasn't sure if that was possible. I couldn't figure it out. So then it was like, just hold on. Just hold on. There's only 1 mile. Anyone can run a mile, even if you're feeling terrible. You can at least do that. I get to half a mile to go, and I was pretty sure, because they had it marked on the course, I was pretty sure that I couldn't manage it anymore. Like, I was like, oh, I need to run under 3 minutes. I was like, I don't think that's happening. And then with about a quarter mile to go, I turn, and now I'm facing the finish line, straight away to the finish, quarter mile. And coach is standing there, Q's standing there, and he's like, it's now or never. You just have to do it. And the thought occurs to me, he's right. It doesn't really matter if I think I can get this time. I have to give everything that's left. I have to do that. And what's possible here? And so I think I picked it up a little, although I might not have. I might have just continued running. And either way, I managed to salvage the Olympic trials qualification. Finished in 2:15:43. It turns out I had a little bit more of a buffer than I thought as far as time.
Because running math is hard.
Mm-hmm. And that
Congrats,
was it.
Zach.
And that was it.
That's
Thank
exciting.
you. So I ran about a minute personal best. I did run the qualification time. I didn't hit that, that ultimate goal. But part of us is like, that tells me it actually might still be possible. Mm-hmm. It might be possible.
Yeah. Very cool.
So now you got way more than you bargained for on this episode of AtoZrunning to hear Zach talk through the marathon project. What an incredible event. Shout out to Ben Rosario and the team for putting it on. It was really exceptional, and I do hope that they can continue to do so. I hope that the event grows and they just can keep putting on this really special and unique particular race.
And we did talk to a couple others who helped make it happen, including Josh Cox, and we hope to talk to him here soon. And
Sam Grotwald.
Yep, who does New York Roadrunner, all the elite field coordination, and again the bottles.
Helped with the aid
that
stations.
That was massive. I don't know, has there ever been, besides like world championships, that there have been that many bottles provided?
Well, Olympic trials, U.S. Olympic trials.
Oh, that would be, right.
Yeah, so in fact, it's actually the U.S. Olympic trials from when you ran from 2020 was the most number of individual hydration provided for runners in a single race.
But if you want an experience like that, and they did not tell me to promote it like this, but if you want an experience like that, having bottles, having the your predetermined marked bottles on the course, they do that. Anyone can do that in their gold race. So you just have to sign up soon enough, which the registration just opened.
It did. December 12 and 13 of 2026 in Arizona.
Anyway, if that's something that sparks your curiosity, and check it out.
It is an application-only race, and then in April you find out if you've been approved and accepted to run. And they run 2 events, as mentioned, the pro race, which is a more limited field, and then the gold race, which is a little bit more open. They have more spots available. So there you go.
Very cool.
Awesome. Okay, let's just do a quick
Let's go.
A quick overview of the important things that have been going on in running outside of the Marathon Project race, which was really cool. Oh, and by the way, JP Flavin for the victory on the men's side, running 2:09 and change, really important stuff. Really, really great stuff. So, high school cross country wrapped up this year with some exceptional performances by the 2 individuals who won both national championships. That's Natasha Dudek out of Michigan, Ann Arbor Pioneer.
Woo!
And she, as a sophomore, won Nike and Brooks cross-country championships. Incredible.
Wow.
And the way she did it, too. The way she did it, especially that Nike one, that was brutal. She had to make a giant surge on a huge hill in order to catch first place. Somehow managed it. Incredible.
Won both. Wow.
Yeah. And then on the boys' side, same story. Jackson Spencer wrapped up an undefeated senior season to win both national titles.
That's crazy. Is this the first time that they've both been snatched by a single person?
I don't know.
Wow.
I really don't know, but it certainly doesn't happen most of the time.
That's dominance right there, folks.
Yes, that is the fact.
Now USATF Cross Country Championships for the women's race. It was Wayne Colati. Not a surprise. She seems to do really well in cross country. She crushed it like no one else had a chance.
Yeah. And Parker Wolf on the men's side, kind of the surprise victor in a stacked field. We've got the likes of Nico Young, Graham Blanks. People were talking about Wesley Kiptoo, who has had a great cross-country career, recently added to the U.S. citizenship, or rather competing for Team USA now that he's a U.S. citizen. And then Paul Chalimo, who came back a week later to run the Marathon Project Marathon, but he was in the race. So stacked field. Parker Wolf pulled it out. Wolf was injured during the summer, and so did not participate at a high level to make the World Championships team on the track, but came back just looking like his former self here. So he's back into full health. He'll be running in the World Cross Country Championships,
which is happening this coming weekend.
Depending on when you're listening to this, we'll be telling you about it soon. It's very exciting. World Cross Country held this year in Tallahassee, Florida. Very cool. And then lastly, on the track, the most notable performances in the last couple of weeks here happened at the BU Boston University opener.
Always a good one.
Especially Jane Hedengren, who, taking second in cross country as a true freshman, jumped onto the track a couple of weeks later to show people that she's just getting started by running a new NCAA record.
Insane.
In the 5,000 meters. She did that. And she did it by negative splitting. Her last mile was insanely fast. All right,
tell them the time.
She ran 14:44.
That is an outrageously fast time for a collegian.
All 8 seconds off of Parker Valby's record.
That's massive. I didn't realize it was that many seconds off the record.
So, almost 8 seconds. We'll have to say it. Number 2 on the U.S. indoor list. All-time number 2 on the U.S. indoor list.
All right, Hedengren.
And she's 19 years old.
So when's her team that she's making? Is she gonna make a team soon?
Make any team she wants. We'll see. But big conversations around Hedengren running for BYU as a true freshman. Does she finish out her college career? Because the thinking right now is it doesn't really matter what she does. If she takes a pro contract, it'll probably be Nike because that's her NIL. And Diljit Taylor, her coach at BYU, is the Nike Swoosh TC coach in the area.
But remember this conversation, we've had it.
I know.
There's not always a financial benefit for her going straight pro. It would just be that she would have more time to focus on her training. I'm sure they'd give her a little bit of a bump, but she might be making big enough money right now where it's like, okay, I get my college paid for and this, and I have the collegiate experience. I don't know.
I mean, that's the conversation. But whatever the case may be, it was actually BYU teammate Riley Chamberlain who also ran 14:58 in the same race, which is number 8 NCAA.
That's big.
Incredible performance. And so not just Valby in the new record, but Chamberlain both under.
You said Valby. You meant.
Sorry,
Hedengren.
I said I meant Hedengren. Thinking about the previous record holder, right? So. What we've got now is we've just got Diljit Taylor kind of like crushing everything with her BYU people. Because keep in mind, she's got some pros running exceptionally well at the moment who are all training in this same cohort now together. So then also, to end it off, Josh Hoey ran a new world indoor best, 600 meters in the same event, or in the same meet,
good?
Running 1:12.84. Hoey, we knew he was in shape. He said he was going to go for the world. It's not a world record because they don't recognize world record for 600 meters. So it's world best, but whatever. Same difference. Okay.
I love that. I'm bummed for him that his world outdoor championships did not go very well, but he's obviously an outstanding talent. This is not the first time he has set records, so I'm excited for him.
True that. Here's your quick lightning round updates that you need to know about. Valencia Marathon happened, and it was fast. Yet again, it always is. Joycelyn Jepkoske won the women's race in 2:14 flat. 2:14.00. That's number 4.
That's what Zach was going for.
Yes, it is. Number 4 all time.
That's insane.
Perez Jepchirchir was second in 2:14.43. Number 6 all time.
Notice 43 seconds between those two. That's a lot of time to only be 2 spots.
That's
different.
Because there's
so fast,
only a handful of people who are capable of what they're doing.
Exactly.
It also is a reminder of how vast the chasm is between the very best and the rest in women's marathoning. In particular, women's marathoning. It's actually quite absurd, which speaks to many, many different questions around things like development of sport in certain parts of the world. Certainly the Western world has developed female sport more than, for example, the Eastern world as well as Africa. And so there's always questions around that. And then also certain places, like specific places, Kenya and Ethiopia, for instance, have much more developed female running networks, infrastructure, than most other African countries, in particular, certainly. And then other parts of the world, so what you get is you get certain individuals who are so much better than many others. And it's a question of how long does it take before things kind of neutralize. So there you go. You've got that. By the way, John Career won the men's race. John Career has been winning marathon majors quite a bit lately. And so he takes Valencia as well in 2:02:24, which is number 8 all time.
So good.
And then at the California International Marathon, which was the U.S. Championships, the U.S. Marathon Championships for 2025, at CIM, 52 men ran under 2:16. 52.
That is so many.
It is. It's the most, in fact, of U.S. men in under that time. 52 men. That means 52 men qualified for the Olympic trials for 2028, which means whatever I thought about my performance, it's not nearly what I thought about it. And then 55 women ran under the women's Olympic trials qualifying standard, which is 2:37. 55. So 107 people in one marathon ran under the Olympic trials qualifying
Let's
standard.
also, though, even though that is a massive number, let's remember that maybe 20 of them are coming because it's the U.S. Championship and would have also run that time anywhere that they went.
Or already have. Yeah,
well,
it's
I
not-
mean, but it just opened up in September, so
I know, but I'm saying like this, for many of them, those were not personal best times.
I think on an average year, like it would be different than this because it was the U.S. Championship. It's going to draw more people who would qualify.
Absolutely.
Anywhere.
Absolutely. Yeah. So incredible stuff. Really incredible stuff. At the Kalakaua Mary Mile in Honolulu, Sinclair Johnson set a new U.S. road mile record.
Let's go. Let's go, Johnson.
That, by the way, only stood for 6 months prior to this when Chrissy Gear broke the record in April. So 4:21 is the new record set by Johnson, almost 2 seconds off.
That's big for the mile.
It's huge.
Yeah.
And only 2/3 of a second off the world road mile record. However, remember that's because the World Athletics Organization only just started recognizing road mile records.
So Sinclair Johnson, now, if I'm correct, has the U.S. mile record on the roads and
the track.
on the track,
Yeah,
which
does.
she did last season.
Yeah. This
So
past summer.
that means Sinclair Johnson is in good form right now.
Oh yeah, she's the legit miler on the scene, has been, but she's just maintaining her forward momentum, which is really important. This is an off year. There's no World Championships in the summer, and so it's always a question of how do you make sure that you stay competitive and get yourself ready for,
But not burn out.
Without burning out the following year. So all of that to say, lots of exciting things. We could probably keep going. There's more to be said, but we've been talking for so long. You probably are thinking that's enough for today, which means we'll have to tell you about Grant Fisher's marathoning future another time when we're back together.
No, you said-
look at
no,
that
no, no, no.
teaser. Look at that. I did. We're not going to talk about it. We're not going to talk about
You
it.
can't say it in the intro and not talk about
That
it.
means you're going to have to stick around
okay.
for more AtoZrunning next time.
I don't approve of that.
Well, that just happened.
Well, thank you all so much for joining us, and we will talk to you soon, giving you that update.